If you opened your brokerage app this morning, you probably thought your screen was broken.
Yeah.
Or maybe that the entire financial system had finally just, snapped in half. We are seeing market moves today that we honestly haven't seen in decades.
It was definitely a refresh the page kind of morning. You look at the numbers, you blink, you close the app, open it again, and they're still there.
Still there.
You just don't see volatility like this in major assets without some kind of, I don't know, global catastrophe happening.
But that's the thing. There isn't a catastrophe. There's just news. But what news? Silver plunged 30%.
In a single day.
Let that sink in. That is the worst day for silver since 1980. And gold took a massive hit right alongside it.
Right. And usually when you see precious metals crash like that, it implies the world is safe, maybe even boring. But the dollar rallied hard. It just felt chaotic.
It did.
It looked chaotic, absolutely. But if you peel back the layers, what happened today was actually a very rational, albeit very violent, repricing of the entire world economy.
Repriced.
The market essentially woke up and decided the future looks completely different than it did yesterday. And it all stems from one name that dropped on Truth Social, Kevin Warsh.
That's it. President Donald Trump has officially nominated Kevin Warsh to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve. And that is our mission for this deep dive. We aren't just looking at a job appointment.
No.
We need to unpack why this specific man caused a market earthquake.
And we're going to connect that to the strange split-screen economy he's inheriting, what we're calling the K-shaped economy.
Plus, we've got a spy thriller involving Google's AI chips, a $3.5 billion bet on weight loss, and, believe it or not, GameStop trying to reinvent itself.
It's a packed agenda for Friday, January 30th, 2026. Let's dive in.
So we have to start with the man of the hour, Kevin Warsh. Trump called him central casting.
He did.
And predicted he'll be a great Fed chairman. Now, purely looking at the resume, central casting seems pretty accurate, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. If you were building a central banker in a lab, it might look like Kevin Warsh. He checks every single traditional box.
He's a former Morgan Stanley banker.
Right, so he speaks Wall Street's language. He's a Stanford fellow, so he has the academic prestige. He even married into the Lauder Cosmetics dynasty.
So he's deeply embedded in that world.
Exactly. But the line on his resume that matters most today, the one the market is fixated on, is his time as a Federal Reserve governor from 2006 to 2011.
So he was in the room where it happened during the global financial crisis.
Yeah.
He wasn't just watching from the sidelines.
He was in the room. He was Ben Bernanke's right-hand man during the meltdown. He was the liaison to Wall Street when banks were collapsing. He knows how the plumbing of the financial system works when the pipes burst.
And that history is crucial to understanding why silver and gold just fell off a cliff today.
It's everything.
Help us connect those dots, because for months, the smart money, or at least the loud money, has been piling into gold. The narrative was that Trump gets elected, he forces the Fed to cut rates to zero to, juice the economy, inflation spikes.
And the dollar becomes worthless. That was the debasement trade.
Right.
Right. That was the playbook. The market was betting heavily on a loyalist scenario, the idea that Trump would pick someone who would just print money on command to keep the stock market high.
And if you believe that, you buy gold.
You buy hard assets. If you believe the dollar is going to be debased, meaning it loses purchasing power rapidly, you buy things like gold and silver because they hold value.
But then he picks Warsh.
And Warsh is a completely different animal. Wall Street views him as an institutionalist and, crucially, a hawk.
Okay, let's pause there. For anyone who might not speak fluent Fed speak or hears hawk and just thinks of a bird,
Yeah.
Can you clarify that? Hawk versus dove.
Sure. It's the fundamental spectrum of central banking. A dove is a central banker who wants low interest rates to stimulate jobs and growth, even if it risks letting inflation run a little hot.
They prioritize employment.
They prioritize employment. A hawk is the opposite. They hate inflation. They see it as a disease that destroys economies. And they are willing to keep interest rates high and money tight to protect the currency's value.
Even if it hurts growth in the short term.
Even if it hurts. And Warsh has a long documented history of criticizing easy money. He thinks keeping rates too low for too long creates dangerous bubbles that eventually pop.
So when the market saw Warsh's name, they realized, oh, wait, he's not going to print money just because the president asks him to.
Precisely. The debasement trade unwound in seconds. It was a mass exodus. If Warsh keeps rates higher to fight inflation, well, holding dollars becomes attractive because you earn interest on them.
And gold pays you zero interest. It just sits in a vault.
It just sits there. So if the dollar's going to stay strong and yield interest, investors dumped gold to buy dollars.
That makes perfect sense. It's counterintuitive. You usually think a crash in metals means panic, but in this case, a crash in metals is actually a vote of confidence in the currency.
Exactly. Evercore ISI put out a note saying the market is trading Warsh hawkish. The market is saying, okay, the adults are still in the room.
But here is the twist. Just because the markets love him doesn't mean he's actually getting the job.
Not at all.
We have some serious political, 4D chess happening in the Senate right now that could derail this whole thing.
It is messy. On the Republican side, you have Senator Tom Tillis.
Yes.
And he has explicitly said he is blocking all Fed nominees.
All of them.
This is a fascinating power struggle, and it's really important to get the nuance here. It's not about Warsh personally.
Right.
Tillis isn't saying, I hate Kevin Warsh. It's about the current chair, Jerome Powell. The Department of Justice is investigating Powell over construction costs at the Fed headquarters.
Which Powell calls a pretext, basically a fake excuse to pressure him on interest rate policy.
Nice office you have here. Shame if something happened to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Senator Tillis agrees with Powell. He sees this DOJ investigation as a political hit job designed to destroy the Fed's independence.
So he's taking a stand, a big one. He's saying, I will not confirm anyone to replace Powell until this investigation is dropped. He's a Republican blocking a Republican nominee to protect the institution.
That is a rare move these days. And then on the left, you have Senator Elizabeth Warren,
who is, let's be honest, never a fan of Wall Street bankers. She criticized Warsh immediately, implying that despite his hawk reputation, he might still end up being a sock puppet for Trump.
So she thinks he'll fold under pressure.
And that's her concern. So Warsh has to navigate a minefield. The right wants to protect the institution. The left is suspicious of his motives. It's a very narrow path to confirmation.
Let's bring this down to the ground level for a minute. We know Trump campaigned on lowering interest rates. He wants cheaper mortgages, cheaper car loans.
Yeah.
If Warsh gets in, does the average person actually get those lower rates?
That is the big gamble, and honestly, the answer might be no. Or at least not yet. Warsh is a pragmatist.
So he'll look at the data.
He'll look at the data. If it says inflation is cooling, sure, he'll cut rates. But if inflation is sticky, and it has been, Warsh is the type of guy who will hold the line. The era of free money isn't necessarily coming back just because there's a new name on the door.
And that reality, that money might stay expensive, leads us directly into the state of the economy Warsh is inheriting. Because when I look at the data, it doesn't look like one unified economy. It looks like two completely different worlds.
Economists call this the K-shaped recovery, and it's the most important concept to understand right now.
Right.
Imagine the letter K. The vertical line is the crisis. Then the economy splits. The top arm of the K goes up. That's the wealthy, the asset owners. The bottom arm goes down. That's the wage earners, the renters.
And that gap isn't just a feeling. It's a statistical chasm. I saw a Fed stat that the top 1% of Americans now own nearly 32% of all U.S. wealth.
It's staggering.
And the bottom 50%, they own just 2.5%. That is wild.
It's a massive consolidation. But what's even more interesting is how major corporations are reacting. They aren't trying to fix it. They are restructuring their entire business models around it. They're picking a side of the K. Look at American Express.
This story really stood out. They are actively shifting marketing dollars away from their no-fee cards.
Think about that. If you want a free card, Amex isn't that interested in you anymore. They are pouring their resources into the Platinum card.
The one with the $895 annual fee.
Almost $900 a year. Why? Because their data is crystal clear. Spending at luxury retailers is up 15%. The wealthy are still spending on first-class flights and five-star hotels.
But the entry-level consumer is pulling back.
Pulling back hard, cutting subscriptions, buying generic brands. So Amex is essentially betting on the top arm of the K and ignoring the bottom.
And they aren't alone. We're seeing the exact same thing in the auto industry.
Oh, man, perhaps even more clearly. Buying a car right now feels impossible if you aren't in that top bracket.
The numbers back that up completely. Cox Automotive released data showing that back in 2020, 50% of new car buyers made under $100,000 a year.
A healthy mix.
A balanced market.
Yes.
And today?
Last year, that number dropped to 37%. If you make under $100K, you are rapidly being priced out of the new car market entirely.
That is a massive shift in just 5 years. The middle class is vanishing from the showroom floor.
It is. Automakers realize they make better margins selling one $80,000 truck than three $25,000 sedans, so they just cut the entry-level models. New cars have become luxury items.
It feels fragile, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like the economy is resting on just a few pillars: tech, healthcare, and high-end spending.
Perched on a few poles is how some economists are describing it. If the wealthy stop spending, there isn't a strong middle-class foundation to catch the fall.
Speaking of those poles, let's talk about the biggest one: tech. And specifically, the high-stakes world of AI. We have a story today that just sounds like it was ripped out of a spy novel.
It really does. We're talking about Linwei Ding, a former Google engineer. A federal jury just convicted him of espionage. And this wasn't some minor thing.
No, this wasn't just copying a few emails. He stole over 2,000 pages of trade secrets about Google's AI supercomputing chips, the TPUs.
Tensor processing units. These are the crown jewels of Google's infrastructure. They are the reason Google can compete with NVIDIA. Ding was stealing the blueprints for the physical brain of Google's AI. And he was secretly working for Chinese tech companies the whole time.
This is a big deal because it's the first major conviction for AI-related economic espionage, right?
It is. We often talk about the AI arms race as a metaphor, a war for talent. But this conviction makes it literal. The U.S. and China are vying for dominance in computing power.
So on one hand, companies are fighting off spies, but on the other, they are fighting for favorable laws here at home. There's a new super PAC guy called Leading the Future.
And they have a war chest, $125 million raised so far.
The backers list is a who's who of Silicon Valley. Andreessen Horowitz, OpenAI, Palantir co-founders. What's their endgame?
Their goal is very specific: national AI regulation. Right now, different states are trying to pass their own AI safety laws.
A patchwork of regulations.
Exactly. It slows them down. This super PAC wants to elect candidates who support a single federal framework, one set of rules for the whole country.
Now, looking at this cynically, usually when big industries ask for regulation, it's because they want rules that are expensive to comply with.
It creates a moat around the incumbents.
Right. So the big guys can afford it, but two people in a garage can't.
That is absolutely the concern. But from their perspective, they also need certainty to invest billions in hardware. And speaking of hardware, look at SanDisk. Their stock popped 7% today. Why? Purely data center demand for AI.
So we have the Silicon Revolution, but we also have a biological revolution happening at the same time. We need to talk about Eli Lilly.
This is the other pillar holding up the economy right now: healthcare. Eli Lilly just announced a massive $3.5 billion investment for a new plant in Pennsylvania.
That is a huge amount of capital.
Yeah.
But they aren't making aspirin there. This is for the next generation of obesity drugs.
Right. We've all heard of Zepbound and Wegovy, but Lilly is preparing for what comes next: retatrutide.
Retatrutide. What makes it different?
It's a triple hormone target. The current drugs target one or two. The clinical data suggests it produces weight loss that's approaching bariatric surgery levels. And they're working on oral pills. No more injections.
But here is the so what for the economy. Why is this plant such a big deal financially?
Because the customer base is about to explode, we are seeing the beginning of Medicare coverage for these drugs. Eli Lilly's CEO called this a game changer.
Because once Medicare covers it, the volume goes through the roof.
Exactly. You're moving from a luxury out-of-pocket drug for the top of that K-shape to a government-subsidized standard of care for 20 or 30 million seniors. That plan isn't a gamble. It's necessary preparation.
It really reinforces that K-shape we discussed. If you're in AI chips or weight loss drugs, business is booming. If you're selling entry-level sedans, you're cutting production.
It's a bifurcation of opportunity. The money is flowing to efficiency and longevity, while the basics of middle-class life get squeezed.
Before we wrap up, let's hit a few quick hits. First up, GameStop. Just when you think the meme stock saga is history.
It evolves. Ryan Cohen, the CEO, gave a rare interview. He wants to use GameStop's massive pile of cash to make a very, very, very big consumer acquisition.
He's essentially trying to pull a Warren Buffett, right?
Yeah.
Turn a failing retailer into something else.
That's the ambition, a holding company model. And Cohen was refreshingly honest. He said, if it works, it's genius. If it doesn't work, it will be totally, totally foolish.
High risk, high reward. Next, let's look at space. Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin are making a major pivot.
They are pausing the New Shepard flights. That's the tourist rocket for 2 years.
No more joyrides for a while. Why?
Focus. They are shifting all resources to the moon lander for NASA. This signals a shift from space tourism to space infrastructure. The race to the moon is heating up.
Shifting gears to a digital threat, A warning for anyone on LinkedIn.
Yeah, this is a sophisticated scam. North Korean hackers were posing as recruiters, conducting fake interviews for tech jobs,
They even sent take-home assignments.
which were loaded with malware to steal cryptocurrency. It's a reminder, if a job offer looks too good to be true and requires you to download a strange file, just don't do it.
Absolutely. And finally, we have to end on a somber note. We lost a cultural icon today. Catherine O'Hara has passed away at age 71.
Just heartbreaking, a comedic genius. From SCTV to Beetlejuice to, of course, the mom in Home Alone.
And for a whole new generation, she was Moira Rose in Schitt's Creek. Just incredible.
The tributes are pouring in. She had a unique ability to make you laugh with just a single word. She will be missed.
She certainly will. So let's bring it all back together. We have a new Fed nominee, Kevin Warsh, who has calmed the markets by promising to be the adult in the room. We have an economy that is splitting into haves and have-nots.
And we have massive structural bets being placed on the future of AI and biological health sectors that are poised to grow no matter what the consumer does.
But there is one immediate cloud hanging over the weekend.
The government funding deadline. The Senate is voting tonight, but the House has already left town until Monday.
So we are looking at a likely partial shutdown.
It's become almost routine, which is dangerous, but it adds another layer of uncertainty to everything.
So here's the thought I want to leave you with today. We talked about Kevin Warsh potentially prioritizing sound money, a strong dollar, low inflation. We talked about AI and efficiency.
But if the economy continues to bifurcate, if the efficiency of AI and the health benefits of these drugs primarily accrue to the top arm of that K-shape, are we solving the economic problem or just masking it?
Are we entering an era where macroeconomic stability, the big numbers looking good, is prioritized over closing that wealth gap?
That is the question. As AI reshapes labor and pharma reshapes health, who actually benefits? The shareholders or the citizens?
Something to mull over this weekend. Check out the deep dive sources if you want to dig deeper into the stats we mentioned. Stay curious, and we'll catch you in the next deep dive.